Hello?
Good
This
evening.
meeting is held remotely pursuant to the provisions of an act signed by Governor Baker on July 16th, 2022, an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, among other things, extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2023. So now it's been extended again. So anyway, specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at the meeting location and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meeting. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded and anything you say or share can be seen and heard by others. We'll check to see if we have a quorum. Carolyn?
Here.
MJ?
Here.
Eloise?
Here.
Julie?
Here.
Wayne?
Here.
Ellie? Tim, we have a quorum. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:31. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of October 15th? No, August 15th. Oh,
So moved. Second.
and any additions or corrections? Nice minutes. We'll take a roll call on that. Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Eloise,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Ellie.
Aye.
Perfect. We have to pay some bills.
We do.
We've got a bill for $18.27. How much is it anyway?
So you have two bills that you're going to vote on tonight. They're both under the amount, so you can
Right.
sign by yourself. And then so you have the coalition dues, which is $1,750.
Right.
And we had the CPA stamp, which was from Amazon. I actually had you sign that off last week because the Amazon, they're like a bunch of group things with through accounting. And just an FYI, not that you'll be paying for it or need to take a vote on it, but today I did get the invoice for the wiring the funds, or the confirmation that the funds were wired for the 72 Carter Street purchase. So KP Law, I guess, is managing that. Things were wired, but there's still
it's inching along little by little.
That's a good way to say
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So that was just an FYI. I have copies of the documents, but we don't really sign it. So yeah.
So our 125,000 move.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sitting in an escrow account so that once they do finally get clearance on the seller's end,
Okay.
it can happen right away.
Good.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion to pay our dues to the consortium? This is the Community Preservation Act consortium that Stuart Saginaw and Chase Mack assist us with technical questions, and they operate that website.
So move.
Second.
And any discussion? And roll call on that. So Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Eloise,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Ellie. Good.
Aye.
And Tim, aye. Yeah, that's good. That's done. And we need to vote on the stamp.
Yes, you can vote on the stamp too. Yeah.
What was it? $18?
I think it was something like that. It's like, it says CPA approved and stamp, and that's what we're using for the invoices that are coming through for payment from the article. So they'll either go to Kristen or myself. We'll see that she also got a stamp. If I don't see Kristen's stamp, I'll send it up to her. She doesn't see my stamp, she'll send it down to me, and then we'll get it over to accounting so it can be paid correctly out of the articles. So
Maureen, did you say you got it on Amazon?
I believe Amy ordered it from Amazon. Yeah, we have a business account. And Amy in accounting, she always works her magic on those things. So, yeah, I can confirm that for you, but I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to pay for the
So
stamp.
move.
Second,
Any discussion? It's less than $20. We can't remember how much, but anyway.
I think it was like
Carol?
18 weird amount. For
Aye.
some.
MJ,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Eloise,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
and Ellie,
Aye.
and Tim, that's that. That's all the bills we have as far as I know. Well, we should discuss the 3,500 that's floating around unpaid. We got
Yeah.
it from what did that note come from Kristen?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And so it's SWCA, and it was for the testing for 72
the phase 1 study.
Right.
3,500.
Right. Is there any way we can use any CPA funds for that? Yeah. So I emailed June asking how much is in the conservation open space. Conservation is going to get stuck paying for it. And I'm a little.
Yeah, I apologize because we almost included money, but then we didn't. So
yeah.
According to Stuart, once a town has paid any bill for any service, taking CPA money to cover that expense is not kosher. You can't go that direction. So
yeah.
You will get from the mall some money in November.
Some, yes.
And you have to turn over 36,000 or so of that to cover
the 50 that we needed for Pisgah. Yep.
So that does put a little money back in your pocket.
A little. Right.
Yeah.
Right now we have like 6,000 in our open space. So 3,500 is a lot of money.
Yeah. But if you pick up another 14.
Yep. Hey, and it's true. I mean, $14,000. I'd love to have that in my checking account, but when it comes to land, $14,000 is nothing.
Well, that's why you
so
have
that's true. But yes.
Yeah, and the coffer that we have now is substantial again. So
right.
We don't know what the match will be in November, but if it's 70% or something like that, it would mean that we'd be parking a substantial amount of money again between what the town raised and what the state gives us. So
right.
That, in addition to the fact that we've got the 850 back, so
Yep.
We're in good shape, and without any projects looming right now anyway. All right, chair updates. CP3 report. The town has to file 3 reports: CP1, CP2, CP3. We are responsible as a committee for CP3, which just updates the status to the Department of Revenue about what the projects are, their status essentially. So we identify some as complete, we identify some as still underway, and Maureen and I filled that out week or so ago and submitted it, and this response on the screen of the computer was that we got a number that said we submitted the information in a timely fashion. So we're all set on that.
Those project status reports really made that job so much easier. Like, great tool. So, was really, really, really good.
Awesome.
Mhm.
The housing coordinator, it will meet with the Housing Trust next week. So she attended a planning board meeting the other night. And she'll participate in the Housing Trust meeting next Wednesday. I think I already said she's from Cambridge. She was with their housing authority. So she's got a lot of experience. Because of the number of migrant families that have been placed in communities within Central Mass, she's been helping towns, in addition to the 5 of us that have signed up to have her help coordinate our activities. She's also helping communities dealing with migrant families. Sutton, I think, has got 15 or 20 families that are in the community, and so she's helping them try to figure out how to get access to some of the state services that are available, and vaccinations, healthcare, shelter, food, schooling, all that sort of stuff. So the fact that she's there with the commission is great, and I think the Berlin is going to find she's going to be a good addition to the trust, and that'll get them moving on probably some projects that they like to see funded. I don't have anything to say in addition to this about the Housing Trust at this point. And I think that's mainly that's the primary issues that we're facing right now. Do we have any updates from committee members? Anything anybody wants to share?
I have one on the pavilion project.
Great.
All right. So we met, Rec did last week. It was via Zoom. Carolyn was on the call. We invited some community members to attend the meeting. Conservation we had there. We had the police there. We had the school there. Just to speak and get their perspective and concerns about putting the pavilion where Rec initially planned to put it, which was equidistant between the pond, the new pickleball courts, and the existing BMS playground, not the town playground on the other side, but the BMS one. And after hearing from Sergeant Golding and Principal Campbell, the committee did vote to move the pavilion from the original intended location over to the other side of the property, which we call South Side, which is where all the recreational activities occur. And we were told by Kristen that we will have to go back to town floor just to let the townspeople know that we are intending on moving it. We have to come back to CPA to get approval from this board, and then we're going to run it by the select board as well. So there's sort of now a multi-step process for the pavilion, but we didn't, it was important to put it in the right spot because it is such a big structure and it is so permanent. And, we spoke about this just with CPA projects on the whole, and probably Rec's going to be the most impacted by this, that we really have to hit the big stakeholders before, and I know Maureen put the proposal together in the application process, so we probably won't run into this moving forward, but talking to all the big parties before the money's asked for is certainly instrumental now, which we've learned. which is good. So that's an update on the pavilion.
Can I just ask, was there a specific ultimate
Sure.
reason as to why it's getting moved? I mean, what was the input that ended up with the decision that it'll end up being moved?
Sure. So from a safety perspective, Sergeant Golding had said that they want clear visibility to the school at all times. And you put a structure like that and it does obstruct the visibility in some capacity. That was number one. Number two was it's best with groups and gatherings of people to spread them out, not to have them all centralized in one location if you have the space to do that. And from Mr. Campbell's perspective, he said that the school has a very good working relationship with the town and the families in town. And if we were to put that structure near the playground and small children went to the structure during the day because it was shaded or families did, they would inevitably make their way to the playground, which is off limits during the school day because it's just accessible for the school kids. And they don't want to be in a position to have to go out and say to these new families, sorry, you can't play here, because they don't want to put the school in a bad light with these new young families that are coming into the town. And plus, I mean, we have the space on the other side. It was but if there was anybody on town floor that voted yes, because it was going near the pond, we want to be able to go back and say, these are the reasons, just like you asked Wayne, why we decided to move it over the other side.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sure thing.
Yeah, I have to say, when Julie had invited me to the meeting, I was like, oh, I don't, from a conservation perspective, having it further away from the pond is definitely better. But then when I heard Goody and the principal of the school talk, I was like, oh, absolutely, that should be moved. It made their arguments made perfect sense, and I think it'll be very easy at town meeting to help people understand the decision and don't see a lack of support for moving it.
Agreed.
No, and you're right. I mean, we're all learning as we go along. So, we each time we work on a project now, I think we'll be a little more on the ball. So, I mean, we've learned that with that land purchase and some of these projects. So that's the goal.
Can I just ask one other question related to that? So because it's going to get
Mhm.
delayed in construction or whatever, does that mean the price is going to go up?
No, the materials have been ordered. That's already all been done. But we just had to lock in the location now. It'll kind of come at a good time because the town playground on the other side also needs to be replaced. Because it's just outdated and it's outdated. But that's a little bit more sensitive because it is a dedication playground. We are reaching out to the family. We're going through all those channels. But sort of to do the playground and pavilion as not connecting the two, because if there is a senior event or some event, they may not want to be super close to the playground, but kind of making it connectable in some capacity on the other side. But it goes back to, the whole master plan idea down there, right? Which Rec's working on having, and I know there was a master plan already for those grounds back in 2000, I think. Tim, is that right? I spoke to Eloise about that. She pulled it out. I saw the whole thing. It was really nice, but this pavilion was always on the master plan. Anyway, so it's just kind of going back to that whole plan and piecing it all together.
Good. Well, and I must say, driving on South Street and watching a dozen kids play basketball or tennis, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
mean,
great.
And it's, that's a small number. Sometimes you go by and there's even more. So
Mhm. Yeah.
Now we just need a dome for it so they can play all winter, right?
Tim,
Well,
that's
if-
recorded.
If winter is anything like it has been, they'll be playing out there most of the year.
Anyway, yeah.
I know, right?
Other updates from anybody?
And just for 72 Carter, just what I had said earlier. We're inching closer. Money is in escrow with town council, and the attorney, I think he filed paperwork in Woburn. The seller's attorney filed whatever he needed to file last week and hopes to hear within 2 to 3 weeks. And I believe that was the final step. So hopefully by the next time we meet, we will own 72 Carter.
You know, I sent you that. Did I send you the consortium notes that talk about acquisition of land with CPA money?
You did.
And so we need an additional party to,
Hold the CR.
yeah, is that right?
I definitely read that somewhere recently. It probably was the paperwork that you sent me.
Yeah.
But Sudbury Valley Trustees is easy for that.
Right. And
Um,
that's who we'd use once we acquire.
yeah, yep. They co-hold all of our CRs now.
Right.
So,
But I was, what it was frequently asked questions from the consortium, and one of the items was what to do with acquisition of land for open space, and it talked about the set of the legal requirements that the community is bound by. So
Right.
I shared that with Carolyn. But if you're trying to find something fun to do sometime, go to the consortium's website and look at projects that other towns are doing, or some of the
Mhm.
frequently asked questions. There's a ton of good information. Any other updates? That's it? Everybody's good?
The Historical Commission received a professional work order for the structural engineering portion of the Bullard House reconstruction, rehabilitation. We recommended to Kristen to sign it. I haven't heard that was signed and forward, but we plan to move forward with it. It's going to encompass both the foundation work that needs to be done for the Bullard House, plus the drainage issue, which looks like it's part of the parking lot area for the 1870 town hall. So I think that those two projects may get done in conjunction with each other. One is kind of predicated on the other, but it would also get the handicap access parking for the 1870 town hall done. Looking to finish that parking lot up and back and making it larger, and then possibly having a ramp run down from there to the Bullard House so that we would use the parking for both buildings.
And what they'd use ARPA money for the additional expense?
That's what Kristen has recommended. We don't have numbers. We have an amount for the structural engineer. We don't have numbers for the actual construction of the pieces.
Yeah.
But they're going to encompass, the project is going to encompass both the parking lot and the foundation work.
Perfect. Everybody else is fine? All right. The plan has to be updated. We have to hold a public hearing, and I guess the first thing is to ask those of you that have particular portions of the plan that are dedicated to the committees that you represent and all, to to go in and look at those again between now and the next time we meet and see if there's modifications or changes that you might want to make. I mean, ideally, we should be trying to foreshadow some of the topics or projects that we might envision your groups coming to CPA to ask for funds for a project.
Didn't we just finish updating the plan?
A year
That's
ago.
how that's how it goes.
Like 2 months ago?
No,
We're learning, we're learning.
it was a long time ago.
No, it wasn't.
It was, you actually voted it last October.
Yeah.
And you had your public hearing, yeah.
Yep.
I sent everybody, I hope everybody got, I've gone in and some reservations, some updates, added a little bit of things. So what did we discuss, Tim? Carol can redo conservation, Julie will do the rec,
Right.
Eleanor can do the historic.
Historical.
And then Wayne, you could probably give us a blurb about the signage. So, because it
Right.
is yeah,
I can. do
yeah,
that.
yeah, you can run with that. And then I did a little bit about, as you talked about our learning experiences. So I talked a little bit about the admin expenses, put a little blurb in there about that. And then just the tweaking of the new thing. So so it's there, color coded, hopefully.
And Eloise can look at the housing section.
Yes, and Eloise the housing, that's correct, yeah.
Tim, can I ask you a question on that, or Maureen too? When you recommend that we should put in there any plans or projects that we envision, do you just mean for this year or sort of master overall plan?
I mean, if it's helpful to, like, you've got other possible uses, build affordable, for housing, build affordable housing, possible utilize tax title land, work cooperatively with entity. So anything that you anticipate is helpful to throw in there. It's like master plans, lots of times with the open space plan and stuff, when you go to the state and they say, well, it is in your plan, and you say, yeah.
Right.
In some of these projects, we might very well be looking for joint revenue, CPA money along with somebody else at the same time. So if it's in our plan here and the open space plan, and it's helpful, it makes a difference with the state.
And the last plan, everybody kind of talked about what had just been accomplished too. So like you would probably want to write something about your courts up there, and things are like, look at what you wrote last time, and we move that out. And that's what the confusion part about this is. It's almost kind of like a town report and a master plan for. It's almost a twofold kind of situation. But yeah, just basically take out what you had last year. And I mean, these are the places where like 5 years from now, people are going to say, oh, so that's when the tennis courts went up, like that kind of thing.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
yeah, you know what I mean? But,
Sure.
and it is confusing again, like, is it really look back or look forward? And I think it's actually both. So,
Okay.
and it is required. It's one of the 3 things you guys are supposed to be doing as this committee.
Yeah, and we have to hold a public hearing. So,
Yes, the public hearing.
one thing we may not, I don't think we'll do it this year, but we may evaluate going forward is, as CPA has a greater history, I noticed in some towns, they end up with appendices that you'd almost assign an appendix to each individual working group. Historical might have one, or housing might have one, and in that appendix you end up with a history that just keeps getting added to, so it's available for quick reference for folks, rather than putting some of the history of what's happened in the body of the plan. You hold it in the appendix, the history, and then in the in the plan, you really begin to foresee what your opportunities are going forward. So we might very well divide it that way. Not this time around, but it's
Yeah.
something to think about as we
So the
get
plan,
more history.
the body of the plan becomes more like the master plan.
Yeah.
And the appendix becomes the annual report.
Yeah.
Part.
Yeah. I mean, we can evaluate. I mean, obviously, as CPA gets more of a history, there's going to be more listings of things that have happened. And as a quick reference, it'd be helpful probably for people to be able to just touch base with that.
You just need to make sure that there's an index so that you can go between them.
Yeah. So is everybody all set with that? Now, if we were going to have a public hearing, that would probably make sense to do it in November. So, we'd have a meeting in October where we could review what it is we've accomplished over the course of the next few weeks, and then touch some things up if we decided we needed to, and then hold a public hearing in November and give everybody a chance that wants to chime in as to what we've included in the new plan.
So right now, our November meeting is scheduled for the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. I mean, I'll be around, but
Yep, I will be. Should be.
Yeah, the 21st.
yep.
First, yeah. Okay.
And then
So by
The
next month,
17th.
we need
17th of October. That's what I have.
yes.
And that
So
works.
by
with you?
then we need our homework done.
Yeah, so we need our homework done in a month, 4 weeks, and
Okay.
then we'll do the hearing essentially, 5 weeks later, right?
Yeah,
So
Um,
Maureen, sorry,
go ahead.
you want us to send this to you digitally, I'd imagine, so
Yeah.
the week before that? So you can put it in, or do you want a
Yeah.
time frame from us?
Well, what I try to do for you guys, is I usually try to work Wednesday afternoons and Friday mornings. So and that's my busy work is usually the Friday mornings. So, as you see, I usually try to get your meeting packets out on that Thursday. So if we're meeting on the 17th, which I will tell you, I'll be flying in from New Orleans that afternoon. So unless something happens, but I do plan on working that day. So I would say if I could have everything by October 12th, then I can, because I'll be setting up your meeting for the 17th, and then I can put everything together, and I'll just put your packets out more like Friday morning, the 13th. It doesn't
Okay.
give you, it gives you about 2 weeks to, it shouldn't be too much. It's a lot of it's just going to be changing your word. Like most of your basic words are going to be the same, but you're just going to update your projects kind of thing. Wayne's going to be the only one that'll be really starting from scratch.
Okay,
Really from scratch.
But again, like Tim just said, if you really do go to that coalition website, the amount of information that's out there is amazing. And they even give they go as far as giving examples of job descriptions from other towns. Like I found that when I was just trying to figure out how we could use admin expenses. I turned that thing upside down. There was no way I was getting it done. I tried. So then that way I'll merge everybody together, then I'll get it out in the packets, and then we'll just put it up on the screen on the 17th. Because you might not even really have, because there's no other projects that I know of. Tim's gonna do the The one project is gonna put it on the FY25 application. Did you do your homework yet, Tim? I gave you last week? No, that's not done yet.
No,
So that's the only thing that's gonna be on the warrant, as far as I can tell, for you guys in May.
There is
I'm-
potential that conservation will have something.
So you'll have it in by November 1?
That's
That's the thing, yeah, I know.
right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing with the land stuff, you
I
know,
know.
it's, I hopefully will have something preliminary by
Yeah, and we-
November 1.
that's what we
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there going to be a conversation somehow? Because I know that at one point in the meetings we talked about the giving of control for certain amounts of funds. I don't know if it was for the housing trust, I guess is what it was, but so that they can act more quickly if an opportunity comes up. So am I making
So,
sense what I'm talking about?
I was planning on attending their meeting next week when the housing coordinator comes on board to meet with them. And I was going to suggest that they might want to come to one of our meetings, maybe the one in October, actually, because I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on the plan necessarily.
I agree.
So if you thought it'd be valuable, I could invite them to come to that meeting, but I thought we needed to have a discussion that tries to outline options. Now, I talked to Stuart again, and he said there are a number of towns that sort of anticipate certain types of programs that they'd really like to fund and have a pool of money available for, in terms of housing. And so again, I think if we look at the consortium's website and look at what other towns are doing, we can probably identify some ways in which, you might very well channel $100,000 and put it into their hands. And then it's available for them to utilize but he said you really want to say it's for a particular purpose. And it might very well be that they have multiple buckets that they have available to help with rental assistance or first-time home buyer projects, if those are the types of initiatives they want to push forward.
Okay.
But not to just say, here's $200,000. We put it in a bucket for you and you spend it wherever you want, whenever you want. Because he said that the transparency disappears, and he really felt, let them ask for particular projects, have the town meeting vote to put it in that fund, and then they've got it, like you said, and they can use it when they need it instead of having to come to us in town meeting and all.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll talk to them next week, and then if everybody's all right, we'll have them come in October. At least Lisa and maybe the housing coordinator, and participate in our discussion that night.
On the schedule of meetings that got sent out, there was October 3rd and November 7th. So are we not meeting those dates?
Well, that's one of the things
Right.
we talk about. If we are comfortable with just meeting once in November and once in October, that's fine. Or we can add those, we can go ahead and follow through on those dates too. We tried to secure as many dates looking into the future as we might anticipate needing, but because we don't have a lot of project proposals, we're not reviewing people's
Right.
work. So it's a little different than it was last year.
So would all the, when I get my act together, when it comes to the signage, so would funding for that come out of administrative costs?
Probably.
Okay. I'm just trying to anticipate that.
Yeah, because it's not going to be big dollars necessarily, unless conservation gets carried away with some big sign that they want somewhere. But-
Gold leaf. I'm looking for
Gold
gold
leaf.
leaf.
Ah,
Yeah.
of course
Keep
you are.
looking.
So it's, you know, we can move forward with our administrative money and go ahead and do this whenever we're satisfied we've got a plan.
Okay.
Wayne, did you say November 7th?
That was in the list that Maureen had sent, October
Yeah.
3rd, November 7th.
So
Right.
November 7th is
Election
Oh,
day.
election day, and Tim, we're supposed to have a
But
planning
not
board
in
meeting.
Berlin,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Tim and I have a planning board
You
meeting
sound
that
very
night.
happy about that.
Towns have their elections in the spring. Cities have their elections in the fall.
Ah,
Just like we will have our state election next November 8th, I believe, of 2024. Next year, we'll have 4 elections.
yay, you.
Yeah.
Carolyn, you may go to a planning board meeting on the 7th, but I'll be going on the 14th.
Fine, be that
But,
way.
yeah,
I don't know how it got in my calendar on the 7th, but
I
you're
don't
right.
know either. I can't help it.
I'm gonna correct that right now.
Right. So the simple math for you folks is, and this was just because we do everything by Zoom and we want to have the Zoom link, is what I did was I requested the second and is it the second and the fourth Tuesdays, so that you'll always have Zooms. But it does seem like we've been following into the week of the 20s. So
No, I
you're
think
looking
it's
for the first and
the
third.
first and
oh, I'm
third.
sorry, okay, you know what, I'm thinking I
Yeah,
just actually
you're-
changed all
You're
my
really
order.
messing Carolyn up
You
now.
know what?
Right?
It's crazy. I actually just rechanged because the new director for the accessory department's in. I just canceled and changed a bunch of meetings today for her. So now
Oh,
that's
boy.
a change.
So the
Oh.
first and third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just to keep, and then you have an extra, I grabbed an extra one in January just because that's usually your critical time if you have projects, but this particular year you might not need that. So I actually have 3 listed in the month of January, but it's not likely that you're going to need them.
Yep.
It's a lot easier to cancel them than to try to get them.
Definitely.
Then should you cancel the 2 we just talked about?
Yep, I always do. That's the first thing I do when I get off of here. And I let Mary know because somebody else might want that link, like Board of Health. Because I think we kicked them off last time.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'll have a finalized anything by the next meeting, but we'll be on our way by the next time. So,
Yeah.
and as long as it doesn't require anything, but I mean, I think we can talk about, what the direction is. So, thanks.
So signage, you don't have anything to tell us tonight, and that's fine. I mean, we'll get there.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about it. It's just nothing's written down, and then,
Yeah.
I think, it's just I think it's just about consistency. Thinking, I need to go back and look at all the projects that we've done, and from what I know, what
Now, have you had a chance to talk to Assabet again?
I have not. I actually have to dig out his contact. I may have to even call Maureen. I'm not sure. before I-
Yeah.
It would be fun to get a sense as to what expenses we'd entail.
I think it's going to depend on what we want. So I think
Yeah.
it's like the.
But he might give us some ballpark ideas about certain types of materials and certain sizes, and I mean,
I can
even
try to-
that alone.
Maureen, can you just shoot his information back to me? I would appreciate it if you
Of
could.
course.
And I'll email him and try to see what I can get,
Right.
from a rough perspective. But, I think the goal is durable, consistent. I have no idea what color we'd want. So if anybody attractive, but
I would prefer it to blend in and not be an eyesore.
no hot pink. Okay, good.
You got me. Now, orange, neon orange, I could probably buy.
Wayne, it's all about Barbie and pink this year. I don't know.
Right, Maureen, right.
We can put to a vote or orange or pink.
We'll get the color.
After the, like a public hearing on the subject of color.
No
Yeah,
color.
Probably green or something that'll blend in to whatever town uses a specific color, but I think just to match whatever. So I'll do some, do some research on that, and we'll just have to come up with sizing and things like that. So
Yeah, I'd like to keep it to just like 2 or 3 sizes. I don't want it to go crazy.
yeah, I've done this kind of stuff in my job forever, and I'm all about here's the template, these are the signs,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. Might be worth putting, a year or something like that on
Well,
this,
definitely.
so that,
As a town clerk, I am continually going back to say, did we do such in this year or that year? Or
yeah. I
so
think
anything that we can put on there, that's helpful.
kind of thing. So those are the thoughts that have been going through my head. So I think it's just a matter of, just organizing that, and not getting it complicated with lots of materials. Like the only thing that would be different is, in Carolyn, if, there's already ideas about Horseshoe Pond, or, what that's going to look like, that kind of stuff. I don't even know if that's on the radar for you guys, but that'd be good.
Yeah, I think,
That's the one that I think we most complicated.
right. So MVP had, the MVP grant program had some parameters that they wanted to be on a sign. So we just added, CPA to that sign in the kiosk, just really as a little line on the bottom for now,
Okay.
until we come up with a different kind of sign. I have no idea how long we have to keep MVP,
What's MVP?
Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program.
Oh,
It's
oh,
how it's the grant money, it's the climate change grant money that we got reimbursed.
so that will stay.
That
or
was the program.
That's temporary.
I don't know how long it's supposed to stay,
Oh.
like forever, maybe.
But are you planning to do something that's well, we can talk about it offline or whatever, but I just think it's, so I don't know if there'll be sections or whatever, but or whatever else you're going to put on that, but okay.
Right. Well, we have the kiosk, so we can get something that goes inside there.
I've never seen it, so I have no. Right.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, we can talk about it more offline.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
And I would say, Julie, if you think there's anything, from a rec perspective, that would need to be considered. I know we're not going to put hot pink on the Bullard House or anything like that, but I think that,
But orange.
but orange maybe. But I do think that that's actually, just as we're saying that, I do think it's, if the I don't even know where something like that would go with the Bullard House. I mean, it's part of it, so I don't know if there's already signage or stuff like that where, it would be like, where funding came from. I mean, it might not be able to be the same thing. Like in that particular application, it's probably not going to be like it would be everywhere else, I would guess. Since it's not going to be some sign nailed on the Bullard House, I'm guessing. So, so I just think like if there's specifics to the project, we'll have to think about that too, because it just may not work.
Right. That's a good point.
Well, they said I in my spare time, I do look at how other towns do their stuff. It's a non-pharmaceutical way to get sleepy. But anyway, they said you should put, if you do a paper thing, a pamphlet or anything like that, it should be noted in there too. So it's not strictly a metal sign.
Oh, that's a good thought too.
Mhm.
So maybe that's something we have to consider, that it, as we talk about signage, it's not just about signage, it's about recognition, or I don't
It's,
know.
yeah, getting the point across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's a good point. So
Right, but I think that goes back to what you were saying about having a template.
yeah, no,
know,
I think that's true, and we should have yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
It always has the town seal and CPA, or X and Y, and than
In the
whatever
year.
and the year.
But, you know, but if it's going to be on a pamphlet or included in something else, you know, what does that have to look like, whatever. So it's just that we could give that art to whoever and say, put this on or whatever. So it's a PDF or a JPEG or whatever. So those are all good thoughts. That wasn't even on my radar screen. So
Right.
thanks, Eloise. That's a good idea.
You're welcome. Well, it
Right,
wasn't
should-
mine.
Should we come up with some sort of, for lack of a better word, logo?
Well, I
So
think-
that so that for CPA projects that are done by the town, so that especially if it's going to be something smaller in a pamphlet where there's less words, that it's always something people recognize as
Yeah.
CPA.
Yeah, I think that's something to consider. And I think that's, again, something, you know, Assabet probably could help us with designing something like that.
Right.
Most of them said like partially funded or fully funded by community preservation.
Yep. I'm gonna look around and see if there's any things at the state or whatever that has a logo that, you know, tends to.
That you like.
Yeah. So, yep.
Good.
Cool.
All right. So you're on that. And then the next item is this, Maureen has generated a section that's on page 15 of the draft plan that talks about Community Preservation Act administrative expenses, and she's got four paragraphs there that explain the 5% and how the money can be utilized and what we've utilized it for in the past, just as part of our updated plan. So if you get a chance to look at that before our next meeting, and if you've got any changes, that would be fine. Did you want to add anything else about that, Maureen?
So the only thing in prior meetings, I had discussed that I was gonna try to get with the town accountant to kind of review that. But I think we'll cover it in the plan, and we've all learned, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
As far as, don't really need to go as far as really making it a true policy at this point. I think if it's in your plan, it comes off as a policy anyway, so.
Mhm.
You know, I'd still like to get, you know, June Poulin in at one point, just, you know, she's a wealth of knowledge, and maybe she can always head us off if we're going to do something that we're not supposed to do or something like that. But yeah, but I don't see a date in the near future for that.
Yeah, I think when you feel that she's got time and
Yeah.
has got other initiatives she's trying to deal with sorted out, you can let us know and we can have her come in.
Maureen, in that draft of the plan that you had sent, had you made any adjustments to that funding recap chart?
I did, in fact.
Looks different.
So one of the problems with, and Tim and I actually did discuss this last week when we met. So my thoughts are we doing the plan too early in the season? And what I mean by that is we don't have our final numbers yet. So if you look at I know, so I did put a little blurb on the bottom that says, and this is something I think I had gone back last year, said, I always get very anxious about putting an estimate or proposed number versus really what's certified and whatnot, because it always happens that someone's thinking that they have the last one and it's not the last one, kind of thing. So I put a little blurb in that, and it's in red. But if we did push doing the plan out and we had our certified numbers, I think that would look cleaner. And then the other part about the numbers too is I also added in how the exemption, how the calculation is actually done. That wasn't in the plan last time. So, you know, your assessed value minus the 1,000 times the tax rate. And then they could contact the assessing office if they had any more questions. So that's in there too.
Is that a different color, or is that?
It should be in red.
You
You know?
At least what I'm looking at, I don't see that part in red, but Just see where you added, where we need to
I
add it.
could, if you wanted to go into it more tonight, I mean, if you wanted me to share screen, if Karen, let's see.
Sure.
I think we could see.
I just think the biggest thing that I ended up getting confused at, which I still think is great on the chart, is just that the state percentage match is next to the amount, but the percentage isn't referring to the surcharge that's prior to it. It's to the one that's above it. So that's
Right, and that's how it works. So you're gonna see it like on that next.
Yeah.
part
So I
down.
think we just need better labeling, but I'll figure that part out.
Yeah. And so are you
need-
able to see my shares? Is anybody
Not-
seeing?
No.
Mm-mm.
See. I haven't done it on this particular computer, so I don't know if I can do it. Let's see.
Usually just click the green at the bottom, and then when it comes
Got
up,
the green, got this, there.
And
There we
there
go.
you go.
Yeah.
So, actually, I guess I did it in highlights. Anything I changed, I actually highlighted. And no, it's odd for me to do that, but I did.
maybe I'm looking at a different version in an email, but I don't see highlighted yellow stuff in the version. Do you guys have a
Oh,
yellow version?
maybe I sent you guys the last one.
No, I don't have the yellow either.
Oh, okay. I'll send these out again tonight. So what what I've updated is the actual membership.
Yeah.
Let the, these page numbers are all going to change. So I just X them for myself. 94. I took out, I don't think other communities are helping us, but you guys could put that back in. It's 195 at this point. I added what the surcharge calculation was. Talked specifically that it was 99.27%. And that was what the certified amount was that the town got to divvy up in the buckets. Then when we go down, so I'll send this all out with it. I must have pulled the wrong one. I apologize.
Well, I just wanted to make sure because when you were referencing it and saying,
Yeah.
I had like,
So these numbers are pulled from the coalition's website. And that's why I put the little blurb on the bottom there.
Yeah, like for me, where it says state percentage match, I think it needs to say like of prior year local surcharge or something like that, just so people understand that it's not the number. Because to me, if you read it like that, you would think, 68% is of the like 281, 250, not of the 290, 392. I think we just need to have that header, just be more
you want this to say
of prior year local surcharge or something like that. A prior fiscal year local surcharge or something like that, just so that they know it's not the one that's preceding it.
Right. So a better example is FY 21 and 22. So the local surcharge was $281,250.
You
And
can
the
see-
state match, the
actually
100%
what-
state match is
Right.
the
prior.
next fiscal year, which is how it works, but
Right.
I see
So
what Wayne
maybe-
says.
right. So maybe I just take out the fiscal year part of it.
No, I think
No,
that's
I'd leave that.
I think it's good. I think we just need to say that the two, it just doesn't make sense when you look at it, because when you look across, like you think that's what the numbers are all referencing. So it's just one
Right.
percentage references the prior year. So I just think we need to change that column header, and I think it'll just be clear at that point. But because of that, there was definitely something weird going on when we got to town meeting. I'm like, these numbers don't make any sense to me. So, but yeah, that'll be good. If you could make that change before you send it out, that'd be super.
You could change that, throw in an asterisk, and then throw in a sentence down below that says more completely that the state matches in fiscal 22, for instance, is to match our generated revenue from fiscal 21. So,
Yeah, I could use an example or something like that prior.
Mm.
Or you
Actual
could just
prior-
say state match is always for the prior fiscal
prior
year.
fiscal year, yeah. And
Yeah.
that, just a little piece down there, because there's room. Yeah,
Well,
Right,
Yeah.
and then you wouldn't have to change the heading
true.
up top. You could just put a little asterisk.
State match percentage, yeah, or something like whatever, yeah.
State match is always for,
The prior, yeah, based on the prior fiscal year amount or something.
Excuse me, Tim,
yes.
will we get notified around November 15 for this year's match?
Yes, and that's the nice thing about having our public hearing on the 21st or whatever it is, because we'll have more complete information as we put this thing to bed.
Maybe that's when we would invite June to be.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
why we're dealing with actual numbers.
Yeah.
I know, I just think it's a tough time for the elderly. That particular time, but that also then goes to the discussion that Tim and I had about maybe we do push the plan off.
Yep.
Like, I was almost thinking, it's difficult because this is where you are right now, but you could do March because you have everything put to bed for your projects for your annual town meeting that is in May. And we should have, like, by then, we would have that FY23 where I have the XXX kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? Because everything would be done and certified from the accountant's office.
Yeah, I think we'll have to look at the consortium's guidelines and make sure that long a period to put the plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
so other town, it's all over the board
Huh.
in other communities. I think they do it. And sometimes it might be because some communities do always have an annual and a fall town meeting, and they can put, projects on it or whatever. I don't know. I think it's just as long as it's annual, I think you're all set. But I
Okay.
can look, I can see that. I could probably send them an email too. His, I don't know, what's that gentleman's name? He's been pretty responsive. That works
Stuart.
with Stuart. No, I don't want, there's another one.
Oh, Chase.
Chase, yes, Chase, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
he's real good too.
Yeah, he's real good. Yeah, and then, like I said, the website is very, very impressive.
right. Maureen, before you move on,
Mhm.
that what you wrote in red, it should be state match is
The percentage, yeah, I'll prove it.
percentage is based on prior fiscal year. Because you've got fiscal years up above, so it should
Be
fiscal year.
consistent.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would, yeah, so just go back to state match percentage up in the column header up above.
You know what, but it's still, I still have, I want to make sure that I am gonna try to ask June on this because we know what we got for 22. And that was the state match. But we don't know yet, we don't have
Are we
our
in?
surcharge. We're right now, we're in FY24.
Right, so isn't 23 wrapped up?
No, because you have to, because you close the books
And then
on June
Sorry.
1st, and then they have to do all their magic, and then they have to get certified by the DOR. The fastest communities might have it done by this time, September. It's usually, there's usually things. So, yeah. And that's why I do think it would be easier if you did it in the springtime, because then you wouldn't have any blanks. You would know what your surcharge is. But well, I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, because then you're still waiting. No, because then we would be, yeah. I'm gonna go over this with June just to make sure
That,
everything
that
says it right.
fiscal year 23 has got to be available for the state to understand what their match is as they put it together in November. So that, if we're voting a plan in November rather than in October, those figures are available.
Maybe they're not certified, but they're probably.
Yeah, unless it's like, she probably has numbers.
Yeah.
On what was collected, but it's that being certified is always kind of that thing.
But I'm not going to lose sleep if we're using numbers that aren't certified, because I'm pretty confident in
Right.
regard to her figure for generated revenue from the surcharge.
Right,
She's going to know that number pretty accurately.
right. And that number actually really will come from the tax collector, treasurer, then goes to her to be certified. Because
Yep.
they're the ones they're the ones that collect the taxes.
I mean, you can always put it in and put a footnote on that number too, if there was a.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do what you want to do in there and then you know what we're thinking about, so.
Yeah, and I thought I had sent all of this out to everybody. So then I just, and that when you're reviewing your sections, there are also these parts of your sections to also review. And don't worry about, at the end of the day, we'll make sure all the tables, are all on one page and everything. I didn't go nuts for that because there'll be additions and
Yeah.
changes to this. So we're going to have a blurb now about the shared housing coordinator. Wayne will do the signage, and need to find out what you guys want to do about account balances. Some people do put account balances on this. Some people even put their account balances on their webpage on their town. It's and then this was just a little blurb that I did for this. And then I think everything else down here is just as it was last year. Don't think there was anything that we changed. Oh, I was going to ask though, are these plans still the most accurate ones?
So the date for the open space plan is incorrect, but the most recent open space plan was finished during COVID.
Okay.
I think it was certified by the state in 21, sometime in 21.
Right.
But that's not a date, Carolyn, that's part of the.
That's totally a date, Wayne.
No, I know, but
No, the 2011 to 2018 is the date.
Yeah, so there must be another link somewhere on the town website that I can delete this one and grab that one.
Yes.
Right, that's what I meant. It's
Yeah.
part of, it's not, yeah.
Yeah, it may be on the conservation page.
Okay,
Yeah,
It
Maureen, you and I can go through the Center Village study plan, because that's got links to a number of plans, and I think it's got the most recent conservation open space plan, open space and rec. So we'll steal those links from there
okay, good.
next time we get together.
And yeah, and then it's just what you want to maybe not keep in, what you want to keep in.
Good.
Go from there. All right.
Yeah, this was
Okay,
helpful.
so I have a question. So we're gonna, all the stuff you have there in the red, specifically for me, the account balances, I think should absolutely be in here.
Okay,
I
I
don't know how
can do
everyone else,
that.
I don't know how everyone else on the committee feels about that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I would think we should know what we're working with,
Mhm.
right? And then is, go ahead.
In the past, we've had trouble kind of nailing those down.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. I think because I think part of it is again kind of what we were talking about with the table that we were just looking at between the fiscal year being June to June, the
Can we go back to
calendar
that
year.
table? While you talk, Carolyn, because I want to hear this, can we just go back to that table?
Sure.
Sorry, thank you.
Like right now, we don't
Mm.
have an actual number of the total surcharge for FY23. So to be able to put in account balance in, what's your cutoff date for that account balance?
I would say the cutoff date should be whatever we're able to appropriate this year. So it's like if so when we closed out the year last year with whatever those amounts, we know exactly what we're allowed to spend this year. So to me, that's what you put. I mean, even
Well,
if
also add to that, if we are taking applications, the cutoff date should align with the deadline of that application.
yeah,
Well, actually much before that, so people know, or groups know that's the dollar amount. If the application's due November 1st,
But we don't know how much we get for a state match until the middle of November.
so then maybe our application date should be pushed off.
No, because the balances are most important for you folks in January on how much even though somebody might ask for so much, you may choose to only give them so much. And then
I guess my point, I'm sorry, Maureen, go ahead.
So, because normally, the balances are more important for you, for the membership, so that you know that, I don't know, like say you're doing your house budget and you're doing your kitchen or something, and you're dedicating, you have 250K that you could spend, but you think maybe there might be a reason why we don't only want to spend 150. So the balances are more important for you to know what it's each category budget. But also you don't want somebody to waste their time coming in with a project if there's zero money to allocate. Right. So the balances are more important for you, because you could have 3 rec projects that come in, everybody seeing that same amount, but when you add all 3 of those rec projects, they're going to be more than what you actually had in that balance.
Yeah, so I guess that's my point. Or to your point, why would anyone invest the time in putting in the work for the project if the funding isn't there? Where if we can go to table, even if it's not in this plan, but just table in general for the CPA, and Carolyn knows there's X amount of dollars, here's a land acquisition coming up, the money's there, I'm gonna pull the plug and.
Can I just ask? Yeah, I know what you're saying, Julie, but when we get the funds from the state, we can't spend those until the following year anyways, correct?
That's true. Yep.
So we can only spend what was collected. So a good example would be, so the only thing that can get spent this year, Julie, that gets divvied out is the XXX part plus the state amount from last year. So we would know the number if we had put that in. And I mean, maybe it's not 100% divvied up, but we should be able to know what those are, because those 2 numbers, I mean, once it's certified and the number that's submitted, I mean, how often, hopefully it's not going to be off. We should know what they are as of now, if we need to do those calculations. So that's really all that can get spent. Whatever comes in from the state, that's nice to know about. We can't touch it till next year.
Right. So what we're talking about is that people come in with projects for November 1st. We begin to do the review. We'll have access to what our surcharge number is and what our state match is shortly after they file those applications or those proposals. So when we first sit down with them, we'll have a fairly rough idea as to how much money is going to be available for the following town meeting when those projects would be voted on. So we could give people a fairly good idea about whether the fund is available to cover all, multiple projects that come in. Whether we'd recommend them or not is something that, we'd act on later, but we could certainly tell people that X amount of money is available for the town meeting in the May following,
Is when we get
So,
the,
so for,
sorry, Julie, go ahead.
it's okay, I hate Zoom. So for fiscal year 24, when we get applications for November 1st, what is available?
So your applications right now are for
Mhm.
funding from,
Fiscal year 20.
so for FY 25. So the current application, if someone was to pull the application right now, we're looking at what the funding will be for FY 25, because they can't spend anything until July 1. So like Tim was saying earlier, you have good money in your coffers right now because you didn't spend it down. So how it works is, so applications that come in on November 1st, 2023, the spending is actually from FY 25.
Well, it gets spent, but it's approved in fiscal year 24 town meeting. Or the, no, as we're approving the budget for fiscal year 25.
Right,
So what's kind of weird is like if you added the fiscal year, I mean, we're about to get the answer to the local surcharge from last year because it's going to get certified. But if we add fiscal year 24 to this, we're going to know in November what the amount for the match was from last year, because that's going to be a definite, but we still won't know what the local revenue is until the end of the fiscal year. And then that's going to be what's going to be following year.
And here's the other little caveat on that. Your CPA surcharge tax is on your second bill. That's not on your first bill, if I'm understanding it correctly. I was just actually talking with the assessor on this. So you guys have 2 tax bills, and it's the surcharge, and it's on your May bill, I believe. Or is it in your November bill?
It can't be because because the amounts are exactly the same, so they can't put it all in one.
right?
Well, like when I do exemptions though, so exemptions are like due on April 1st, but the town has a courtesy for people that are repeat ones where they try to get that exemption form in early and try to split it. So like say you were going to get $1,000 off, they take 500 off one bill and 500 off another bill, which is a courtesy. It's not necessarily what you're allowed to, but you don't necessarily, not all communities, are kind in that way, I guess. So, but I agree that the amount should be available to applicants, because if the applicants know that there's zero money in historic, why are they going to spin their wheels, trying to get an application in? But it's more important for you guys to know what the buckets hold versus applicants to hold it.
So,
Yeah.
Maureen and I will generate a chart that shows what's available in each one of the accounts for our October meeting, because
That's helpful.
we've got a fairly reasonable idea about where we sit. Housing is going to have in May of 24, housing will have about $200,000 available in the housing bucket. Open space will have somewhere around 100,000, and then historic will have somewhere around 100.
Right.
And then the fund balance will be, it'll be somewhere 750 to 800,000, I would think, in addition to those other accounts. But we'll tack down some numbers so everybody's got a good idea.
So it'll be another chart, and it will just basically show each one of your categories.
Yeah.
And what the amount will be. So which I think would be helpful. And I actually even think
Yeah.
maybe put that separately on your, like near the application on your webpage kind of thing. And go, and then the administrative part will also be part of that balances. Because, and that's what's so great of the administrative, if you don't use all the 5%, it does jump back to you guys, a general CPA thing. So there is that extra thing. So it's more important for you guys to know that, and have it available.
So that chart will have the beginning, the out, the 10% in, and then the total, I'm assuming, is how it kind of.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll be able to give people by mid-November of any year, we should have a fairly good idea of what's going to be available at the annual town meeting for May. And that's what's important.
That's what's important.
People come in with their project ideas and we'll be able to give them a word pretty quickly on that it's going to be competitive, or that, because there's only so much money available, or that the funds are available for all the projects. So it's just a question of convincing the CPA committee that the project has value and that we'd vote to approve.
And that's why some, and this is actually on the CP3 report, when you report to the state, they ask if it's a phase project. So sometimes somebody will say, you know what, I want 100,000 in FY25. I'm going to do this much of the project. Then I want another 50 for FY26. So if it's a phase project, that's something that, can also be looked at if you guys know what the balances are and what's coming in.
Yes,
But I like to see all these complete ones. That's very nice, I think.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good conversation.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
I think it's such a positive program. It really is. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've saved ourselves some time at our next meeting already by doing this tonight.
Okay, I will
Anything
stop
else on
sharing.
that right now? We're good?
Yeah,
Public
that was great.
input.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great.
Do we have any public? Oh, look, we do.
We do.
Kate's out there.
She is.
Well, if Kate raises her hand, we'll let her have input. If she doesn't, we'll assume there's no public input. She's not raising her hand. Good to see you, Kate. And the next meeting, we're deciding not to meet on October, whatever it was. We'll wait till whatever the date is. What do we say? 17th?
The
17th.
third Tuesday.
Right. So not October 3rd, but October 17th.
All right.
Great.
We're comfortable with
Happy
that,
to cancel something on my calendar.
and add the planning board meeting.
I did already correct that. Yes. I don't know how that happened.
Anything else? Nice job.
Mm.
Thank you, Maureen,
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Maureen.
all.
keeping us honest.
Yeah, I'll be in
Mm.
touch with you, Tim. If you're coming by, I'll have you sign the invoice for the dues.
What's today? Tuesday?
Yeah.
When's good? Tomorrow?
You can come by tomorrow, yep. I'll have it done. Or next week. It won't get in for the invoices anyways this week. They would have had to been in this afternoon, so.
I may be
Um,
coming to see your boss tomorrow just to drop us off something, so
Okay,
maybe
I
I'll do
will,
that.
I will be there. All right.
All right. Do we have any
Motion
other
to
comments?
adjourn.
Everybody's all set? We have a motion to adjourn
So
Second.
moved.
and seconded. It's non-debatable. Carolyn,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
Eloise,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kim is aye. Wonderful.